Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Rick Green. I am a certified health coach, and tonight I would like to welcome you to the Habits of Health. I have Dr. Buddy Allen with us this evening, and we're going to begin this third series of the Habits of Health. And we're going to be talking about in the beginning, what happens in the beginning. I'd also like to show you and share with you a picture of Tom. Now, I don't have the full story, but Dr. Allen does. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about Tom because it's really interesting. I got the pictures and I'm like, wow, that is a man among men. So I'm going to go ahead and show you Tom's picture. And you see it there, Doctor?
I do.
All right. Well, tell me a little bit about Tom. I'd like to know about this.
So Tom, and you know what? There's so many different instances I could share his story that I think are applicable to all of us because when it comes to getting healthy, it's kind of a scary thing for most of us. Most people that want to lose weight or want to get healthy, they know they want to do it, but when it comes down to actually doing it, it gets scary. And Tom's story is interesting. We used to do a radio program here in town, and he had heard about the class. I do this same class an hour and a half earlier than right now here locally. And so I would invite people out to that. And Tom was on his way with his wife. They were like, you know what, let's go check this out. And he says, buddy, I'm not kidding you. We were a quarter mile away getting ready to turn left to come down the street here. And he says, I told my wife, let's turn around and just go home. Because he said, in my mind, I knew I needed to change, but I was scared to. He was like, I knew that if I went to this and I liked it, it was going to mean I had to buckle down and make some changes in my life. And so he was like, and his wife was like, let's just go see what it is. Let's go see what this program is about. And if it's not a good thing, we'll just, it's no big deal. So he comes to his first class. We sit down and talk. And in the next, I want to say 3.5 months or so, he loses 3.5, 4 months, I think, he loses 75 pounds. All right. And this before picture, now Tom he's an outdoorsman kind of guy. All right. He's a retired firefighter. And he said he'd been overweight for quite some time. He says, I loved hunting. And he says, but I tell you what, when I was over here at this heavier state, he says, I would load up my four-wheeler. I'd drive an hour or two out to where I was going to go hunting. And he says, I would get there and I'd be so dang tired. He says, I wouldn't even unload the four-wheeler. I'd turn around and come home because I knew I didn't have the energy to go hunting. And he, this is this Christmas right now. And he lost his weight nearly 3 years ago. Tom, so this Habits of Health course that we're doing tonight, this is week 1 of 12 weeks. I've been doing it now for 3-4 years here in Boise. And Tom has been coming to this class, and I'll bet you in the last 3 years that he's been coming, he's probably missed 6 or 7 classes at most over the last 3 years. He's heard this 12-week program again and again. And, we try and add new things to keep it fun and exciting and inspirational and informational. And, we want people to learn when they're here. But he every week he comes and he says, you know what, buddy, this is probably my number one habit of health is to continue to come to this class because I still learn things. And, like I said, look at the difference. Here he is. And this is 3 years after having lost his weight. He still looks fantastic. Tom, and we usually focus in this program, in the Take Shape for Life and Habits of Health program, we focus initially on helping people learn to dial in their diet and lose their weight, get to their healthy weight first before we really introduce a lot of exercise. But Tom I love him to death. He is the perfect. If everyone could do like him, this world would be an amazing place real quick because he lost his weight. And then I'll bet you he was coming to our class each week, and I would talk about I do CrossFit, and I'd talk about the horrific workouts we do, and how sore I was, or this, that, or the other. And he kept saying, buddy, I think I want to do that someday. Just not yet. And over the course of after he hit his goal, I bet you it was 8 months to a year before finally he's like, you know what, it's time. And Tom has been coming to CrossFit now with the same gym I go to and working out with me for, I'll bet you he's going on about 1.5 years now. And he's like still saying, man, I know I'm a slow learner, but I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to understand it. And I'll tell you, he is just a neat guy. Did you put that picture of him in front of his deer, or did you leave that one out? You left that. So I'll have to maybe share it with you next week. But he has a picture this year. He went hunting on a deer hunt, and he said it was a 1.5 week long deer hunt, and he said the weather was horrific, and he says I was literally one night I was laying in the tent, and he says tomorrow I'm going home. But then as I laid there, he was, and this was about 4 or 5 days into it, he's like, well, I'll make the decision in the morning. And that very next morning he woke up and he's like, no, he's like, it's cold and nasty, but I'll stick it out. And that very day he went out and actually shot himself a nice little buck, a beautiful little buck actually. And and that's the thing, that when his reason for initially wanting to lose weight was when he was here, he couldn't do what he really loved, which was get out in the mountains and go hunting. And now he's able to do all of that. He can do anything that he wants to do, which is, like I said, that to me is, he's living the life that he wants. And that's what we want for everybody who's joining us on these, on our lessons here, is we want you to live the life that you want to live, that you were meant to live. And so that's, thank you for joining us, because we're going to kind of dive into this deeper here and start just working through the process of habits and how do we make those work for us, and really how do we make it feel like it's us, it's who we really are.
You obviously, like I was saying, I saw him and I was like, yeah, he's a man among men.
Yes.
I did have those pictures, and I put those two together because I got the before and the after. And I really, now that you bring that third story, or that story in,
sure,
I could pull that up and probably find that here in just a second. But yeah, this is what we want to do, right? We want to get healthy so that we can do the things that we want to do.
Absolutely.
So, if you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, so go ahead and give it a shot there. I can signal you somewhere along the line. Doesn't really matter, and I can pull up that deer picture.
Yeah, I'll maybe at the end we'll show that deer picture, because
all right, yeah, good.
I absolutely, his story to me is the epitome of what we're trying to do for all of us, because he was scared in the beginning. He didn't, he had his doubts. He didn't think he could do it. He'd struggled for a long time, and then he was just about ready to turn around. He was literally 100 yards from our office, and he's like, I almost turned around. In fact, I told my wife, let's turn around. And it was because of her saying, let's just see what it is, that he is a completely different person. He is the neatest guy you'll ever meet. And that really, he's living an awesome life. He goes and he shoots for sport, shooting targets, and he gets to hunt. He gets to live, now that he's retired and has the time, he gets to live the life that he worked hard to create for himself. So, all right.
How's that? There we go.
Oh, beautiful.
There's Tom right there.
That's it. That's
a beautiful deer.
This fall.
It is. Wow.
Yeah. And again, this was he says that weather was horrible. He says, I was on my stomach crawling through brush. I was, like army crawling through areas, looking and trying to scout him out. And he was literally, that's the day the night before, he was like, I'm going to go home tomorrow. And then he was like, well, I'll see how I feel in the morning. And because he felt good the next morning, he went out and this was his prize.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So thank you. That's an awesome picture. I love that picture.
It
All
is.
right. So let me do this. Let me click this here.
So we're going to talk about why it's really not our fault.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the fad diet, folks, and what this is all about, and how we get started.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So here's what we have to kind of understand. And again, we all are who we are because of our habits and our choices and our daily routines, the things that we've kind of learned over our lifetimes, right? So, and I absolutely love this quote. And Ralph Waldo Emerson really nails it when he says, listen, that which we persist in doing becomes easier, not that the task itself becomes easier, but that our ability to perform it has improved. And if you think about us and everything that we do, whenever we do something new, it always feels a little bit hard. We fumble, we're kind of clumsy with it, and we mess up frequently, you know. And if you think about whether you're playing an instrument or whether you're building something or drawing or art, you name it, in the beginning, we're all bad at it. But and with respect to our health, if we're not where we want to be right now, we just have some bad habits. We've done some things that have put us in a place that we don't want to be. But understand that as we start doing the right things over and over, we will get to where those become natural to us. Getting healthy and staying healthy will be a natural, simple thing because it's who we are now, because we've changed. And just like we can change for the bad, we can also change for the good. And the amazing thing about our bodies is that no matter how bad we've abused them for even for decades sometimes, or longer, whenever Ooh, sorry, I lost you for a second. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but all right, should be coming back up. There we go. Sorry. There we go. All right, so here's what we're up against, all right? Part of the reason why it is easy for us to put weight on and difficult to take it off is our bodies were designed as hunters and gatherers, okay? It's only been in the last maybe few hundred years that food has been so readily available to us. It used to be that we had to get out and hunt and find our food and prepare it. It took a lot of energy and effort to get it. And there were plenty of times when we were not successful. Or when we were, maybe we only got a little teeny rabbit when we really needed something bigger to feed our family. Okay? So we're talking, our bodies were designed when we were when we had abundance, we were designed to store it, okay? And so the problem being now is our body is still that same body as the old hunters and gatherers, the same genetically speaking, ready to store energy, and yet we have an abundance of energy all around us. In fact, in the last 30 years, not only do we have more, that food readily available, but we have infinitely more food readily available that we don't even have to cook in any way. We can grab it, stuff it in our face, and be on our way down the road. Okay, so we're fighting. Really, it's a battle of our culture, and the idea is we have to learn how to live in this culture and still be successful. So it's not our fault that we're good at storing fat. It's how we're designed. However, as we learn with these habits, there are things we can do to shut off fat storage and turn on the fat burn. So if we can do that, we can kind of get off of this down here where we talk about these getting off our yo-yo diets. We want to make sure we get to our goals and stay there for good. So changing habits can be hard. In fact, it's very hard sometimes, okay? It's just like this old car here stuck in the ruts. Anyone who's ever been driving in deep snow or in sand or in the dirt road where there's big ruts, it's really tough to pull out of those ruts and not get sucked back into them. Sometimes you pull out and one wrong little turn, you slide right back in and you're in a bad place again. But what happens is when it comes to, especially with food, is we create chain reactions of what we do with specific things. So this here just paints the picture of, listen, we're watching TV and we get hungry, right? So because we're hungry, we go get a bowl of chips or something easy to eat while we're watching television. And before you know it, we do that enough times. Now, whenever we sit down to watch TV, whether we're hungry or not, we're going to go grab a bowl of chips. We're going to go grab food and sit down and eat, regardless of whether we're hungry or whether we just ate. Okay, it's because we have we basically have chained it together. We have a stimulus, and then here's the reaction. Okay, and really, I think we can all understand that there have been times, how many times have we gone out to dinner before going maybe to a movie, and we just ate, we're completely full, and yet we get in the movie theater and we smell popcorn, and what? We want popcorn, and we want the soda that goes along with it. It's just, and we're not even hungry, but we find ourselves buying it just because that's what we do when we go to the movies. Okay, so our whole goal with these habits is we need to become aware of our good habits, our bad habits, and let's start figuring out how to make new habits, because we can make new habits just like we made old habits. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So identifying this, here's a big one. We need to identify the choices. Why do we want to go through the difficulty and the struggle of eating healthier, trying to lose weight, disciplining ourselves? Why are we going to do that if it's not something that's important to us? And I want to make some clarification here, because if we say, oh, I want to go on a diet because I want to lose 30 pounds, 30 pounds is not exciting. Okay, that, in fact, when you think about going on a diet, all you think about is all the things that you're not going to be able to have right now. However, if you say, listen, I want to lose 30 pounds because I want to get to this weight is going to allow me this summer to go on my vacation and put on a bathing suit and go water skiing or lay out on the beach or do something that right now I would never do. It's going to allow me to go and climb a mountain, or go hiking, or whatever it's going to allow me to do something that is actually fun and exciting to me. Okay, so we need to make these choices. These foundational choices are things that are important to us. These are things that when we think about, we get a visceral reaction to it. They make us excited. They make us happy, and they make us feel good. All right, not going on a diet in and of itself. Yeah, that's going to be miserable the whole time if all you're thinking about is, oh, I got to do this diet, I got to get 30 pounds. There's nothing exciting about that. So make your goals something that are meaningful to you. Become aware of our daily choices, the ones that are both good and bad, because they're both important to understand. We want to do more. Doing something different and changing is about doing more of some things and less of others, right? So if we're eating bad things, we want to do less of eating bad, and we want to do more of the exercise or the things that we like doing. Okay, so become aware of our daily choices, the things that are both good and bad. Think long term. And then creating this bottom one, I love it. Creating a microenvironment of health is like having the answers to the test before you get the test. Okay, they make it so much easier to be successful, because guess what? The things that are gonna sidetrack you or knock you off the boat, those things are not there anymore. It's not hard to not eat a half-gallon of ice cream if it's not in your freezer. Okay, same goes for a bag of chips. You're not going to be tempted if it's not there. So, okay, this is thinking long term. All right, when we talk about that, we are very good at, we don't always feel the changes right away. So if we have a salad today or a hamburger today, we don't notice a difference. We probably aren't going to weigh any more tomorrow or any less. But when we look at this continuum of time, this is where things really make a big difference. I think the best way to explain this is kind of like the compound effect is what we're talking about. We can have a compounding effect of negative things by having bad habits, or we can have them for good things. And I think the best way to describe this is that the old analogy of, or the story where they say, hey, if I offered you $5 million today, or a penny doubled every day for 31 days, what would you take? All right. When you're young, everyone always says, give me the 5 million. All right. But here's the deal. Here's what's interesting about this. You make it all the way up to day 26, day 27, and you're still well below $5 million. In fact, I think at day 26 or 27, you're still only around $250,000. All right. And so at that point, think about this. You chose this penny doubled because, someone says you should have, because it's going to be more, but you get to day 26, 27, and you're thinking, crap, I made the wrong choice. I only have $250,000, and this guy over here has got 5 million. But what happens is over the last 4 days, you go from, that few $100,000 to, I think it's $10.5 million, almost $11 million. Okay. So we don't see the compound effect until down the road. So we have to have a more long-term approach. Okay. If you expect to lose 30 pounds this month, it's going to be real easy to be discouraged and say, oh, it ain't worth it. Okay. But if you understand that, listen, I know I don't like how I feel now, and I know I'm going to feel better if I continue to make these better choices. Just think more long term. Mentally, it makes things a lot easier, and physically, you will feel much, much, much better. Okay, so this here is kind of, again, that continuum of time. We're all, from the time we're born and throughout our life, we're all moving closer to the grave, right? And not to sound negative or Debbie Downer or anything, but depending on what our lifestyle is, we are either going to see that sooner or much later. And the idea is we want to live healthy, so we see it much, much later. And here's the amazing thing about our bodies. At any point, no matter whether we are very sick or we're doing not half bad, at any point when we start making better choices and eating better and having better actions or better activities that we do in our life, less stress, better sleep, all of those things make a difference. And all of them will immediately start making us feel better. I mean, over the course of the years of treating thousands of different patients, it never ceases to amaze me at how quickly people respond, even when they've abused their body for decades. I've had patients that have 30, 40, 50 years just have beat their bodies up and been overweight and unhealthy and smoked and drank and just terrible habits. And yet immediately from the time they start making better habits, they start getting better and they start feeling better and they improve. And it goes the same for all of us. The one thing I would like to say, though, is even though if you were you had emphysema because you smoked too long, if you stopped and started doing better things, your health would improve. But there is a point of no return where you can only get so much better. You can always get better, but you're still, once you've done a certain amount of damage. So ideally, we hope you're all making the choice now before there's permanent damage or things that you can only improve to a degree. Okay. Now, this right here, the next slide talks about non-sick versus sick. Okay. Non-sick is really important to understand because most of us, probably 80, my guess is in the 80 percentile of all of us in America fall into this non-sick category. All right, non-sick is this. Non-sick is basically, I'm not doing great, but I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I haven't been diagnosed with something yet. But this is what non-sick feels like. Non-sick is I am probably a little overweight. I don't have a ton of energy each day. I eat, and usually within 30 minutes to an hour, I'm feeling, like I'm dragging tail. I'm tired and fatigued. I probably have frequent headaches. I medicate myself with Advil or Tylenol or something like that because of frequent aches and pains. I'm stressed out. I don't sleep very well. You see what I'm getting at? There are things that a lot of us, I wake up in the morning and I don't feel rested, things like that. We're not doing terrible, but we're not doing great either. Those are all signs. But the problem with being non-sick is it's a very slippery slope. It doesn't take long before all of a sudden you do have nasty things going on. So here, this is just a diagram that explains a handful of, as you start to lose weight and getting to a healthy weight has a tremendous effect in a positive way on your body. Look at this. I mean, just this left half of the screen here. Migraines resolve 50% of them just by getting to your healthy weight. Pseudo tumors in your brain, 96% resolved. Dyslipidemia or high cholesterol, 63% resolved. Non-alcoholic fatty liver, 90% improved. Metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome is like right before you actually are diagnosed with diabetes. Okay, so metabolic syndrome, 80% resolved. Type 2 diabetes, 83%. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, 79 to 100%. Varicose veins, 95% resolution. Our bodies respond amazingly well when we're at a healthy weight. Everything gets better just by virtue of being at a healthy weight. Then if we actually start exercising and doing other things, we can take it to a whole nother level of health and fitness. Over the next 12 weeks, these are some of the things that we're going to dive deeper into. We're going to dive into habits of healthy eating, healthy movement, strategies in our behaviors, all right? Strategic behaviors to make sure that we avoid the things that ruin us and maybe encourage the things that make us better. Habits of support through vitamins and minerals, reducing inflammation, getting good sleep, creating a positive environment, and making sure we have good support around us all the time. Excuse me. And understand this. We all have a different goal for what optimal health is for us, because my optimal health is going to be different than my dad's optimal health. But we want to be as healthy as we can be for us, okay? And throughout this program and throughout this 12 weeks, if you stick with us, and again, Tom, who I shared with you in the beginning, he's been coming to my class now for better than two and a half, almost 3 years. Okay, and he comes because it helps him be better. This is an environment that helps him where he doesn't have health elsewhere. Okay, so please keep coming back. This picture here is so everyone understands our habits are things that become automatic when we do certain things. For instance, if you have just one chip, are you going to stop at one chip? I'll tell you right now, it's virtually impossible to have one potato chip or one chip and not have a whole bunch more. Same goes with one bite of a donut or one piece of, it opens the door to just a natural cascade of events. All right. However, when it comes to habits, anywhere in the middle there, if I don't eat the one chip, I'm not going to eat the whole bag of chips. Okay. Anywhere in the middle, if I don't go to the movies, I'm not going to get a bucket of popcorn and a soda. You see what I mean? And I'm telling you, I use that example because I had a couple I coached years ago that they could not go to the movies without getting a bucket of popcorn. They were on and off the program a dozen times. Finally, I really had to get serious and say, you guys just can't go to the movies if you want to be successful. Until you get that under control, you can't, and finally they did it, and guess what? They were successful. So that's what this is about. And the last thing I'm going to end with this because we're almost out of time. Know what you want, because throughout this process of learning different and better habits, we are going to be able to be in control of all of our actions, okay? We are going to be able to take a moment when we're presented with something that is tempting to us. We're going to be able to stop, challenge it, meaning, do I really want to eat this or do this? And then we're going to make the choice rather than being on the autopilot of what habits cause us to do. So stick with us over the course of the next 12 weeks, and you will get a better understanding and better control of all your habits, and you're going to start adopting new habits that are going to help you down this path to a more optimal healthy weight and healthy lifestyle. I will turn the time back over to you, Rick.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. Hey, you know what? And you're so right in the fact that once we identify those triggers that cause us to do the things that we shouldn't do, we can take that. That gives us the power. We are empowering people once we've identified those things that are going on to break those chains that are stopping us from moving our health forward. And I just love the habits of health. It's so good to have you here. You put things in a great perspective. Thank you for your presentation. Hopefully somewhere down the line we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
And maybe we can get Tom to tell us the deer story.
Yeah. I'll try. I'll try and get him to stick after one of my classes. You bet.
Okay, good. Well, with that, thank you for everyone for joining us tonight in the Habits of Health. Again, this is we're going to do this another 11 weeks. So we'll have the 12-week series, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And tell your friends, invite them as well. So everybody's welcome. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.